She's an award-winning YouTuber and best-selling author obsessed with helping you go after the life you want.
I like it.
Join her as she seeks out the stories and strategies
Give me every little detail.
of extraordinary people who found success.
I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
Welcome to Detail Therapy with Amy Landino.
Hey there. Welcome back to Detail Therapy. This is your host, Amy Landino. I know that's actually been a little bit of a change recently because we've had someone lovely stepping in for me, but I am back. And so if you've been tuning in for the last few episodes, I really appreciate your patience with me. And this episode's going to be very different. This episode is going to be completely unplanned because this was never supposed to be the plan. I just want to update you on what has been going on with me in my personal life and how that is going to be affecting the podcast right this second. Don't worry, it's not as serious as it sounds, but I didn't want to leave you hanging. You know, I totally could have just not uploaded an episode at all, and I just don't like that. I think we've really kicked off to a strong start, only 7 episodes in of Detail Therapy. I'm so proud of the work we're doing and how well it's being received by you lovely AirPod listener, or whatever your favorite little headsets are. So, what's going on? If you do not follow me on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, I think that's pretty much where I have spread the news thus far. You may have noticed Meg introducing the show. She said something about a family emergency, and that's exactly what it was. I had a terrible loss in my family. I'm not going to go into it here because I made a whole YouTube video for it, and it's hard enough that so many people have been gracious enough to watch that video, and I know a lot of people couldn't get through it. I was just extremely raw and emotional and just kind of let you know what's going on. I'm okay right now. I can talk and I can make content and not start crying randomly, but I miss my brother very much. And if you would like some more information on that, that is on my YouTube channel. It's a video called My Brother Johnny. The last time you heard me hosting an episode of the podcast, I was about to walk out the door, basically, to go to London, Edinburgh, and Rome, Italy, for a nice long trip. A lot of work in there, but also a lot of play. And basically, all of that took a turn as soon as this loss happened, and I basically came right back home. If not for a couple of days from another commitment, I had to make good on. With the podcast, I, of course, ran out the door to go on this trip, and I was like, it's okay, it's podcasting. I will totally record the intros for these next few episodes that are going to roll out while I'm gone, while I'm on the road. No big deal. I'll just go sit in a quiet space and record, much like I'm doing right now. And that didn't happen, although I knew I had the interviews ready to go, and I did not want to stop publishing because of this. We're just, it's just too new around here. I didn't want to just tease you with 3 episodes and then be like, oh crap, sorry, something bad happened to me and I gotta go. I didn't think that was fair to you, and I had the content ready, but I was not in a good state of mind to be making any content whatsoever and pretend like I was happy. It just wasn't going to be fair to you. It wasn't going to be fair to me. And so I didn't have any intros or detailed recaps or anything. I just had the podcast interviews ready. So I just want to take this time to commend Meg Kearns for stepping in. Meg is my assistant at Aftermark, the creative studio that I own with Vincenzo. And I think I asked her to do it because I trust her greatly with your ears. Meg started as a viewer of Amy TV, which was Savvy Sexy Social formerly, and she knows what I expect of myself, what I expect of content, what I expect for my audience, and I just thought there was no better fit. Also, super helpful that she had just recently started a podcast with her husband, so I knew she was already kind of equipped literally, and also getting her practice in with that. And I think she's done it a little bit in the past as well. But I knew that she had it in her. And it was going to be easy to pass off. But I have to say, and I want everybody to go to Twitter and Instagram and thank Meg, and we'll leave her her socials if they weren't already. I think they're already in the show notes that we've been doing in the last few weeks. But she just did a killer job. When I heard the first little bit of the sampling of that first episode that she took over for me, that was the first little bit of happiness I was able to feel in my heart at that point, because I just knew it was such a good fit. I even thought, oh my gosh, why am I hosting my own show? Like, maybe we should just have Meg do it. But anyway, just a thought. You guys can let me know what you think about that. But I just want her to know here, and I want her to hear from all of you, because I think you guys definitely have been giving her good feedback as well. She did an amazing job stepping in for me, and I just can't thank her enough for that. Don't forget to check those show notes, by the way, for her socials, and just, give her a quick little, fab emoji, whatever one's your favorite, or just let her know thanks for stepping in. And also check out the link for her podcast if you are also married and having babies and all that kind of stuff. She's really doing a lovely job on life, marriage, and a baby carriage podcast. So definitely go check that out. I actually think you should probably check that on her social, because I think I saw somewhere she has a new podcast link. So you want to make sure you get the right one. I was really excited about this podcast getting started, and had just started getting any interviews I possibly could, whenever I could, wherever I could. But we're plumb out, unfortunately. I knocked out those first 4 in LA, a quick trip to LA. If you saw this play out on YouTube, you saw all of that. And then I did a couple more just here in Columbus. And I want to review those a little bit later, but I'm out of backlog at this point, and I am in this kind of crummy situation where I'm recording this literally the day I'm coming back to work for the first time. It's December 3rd. You're listening to this on December 4th. And what's important to me is that you hear from me first. But what's also important to me is that the integrity of this podcast not go south. I'm not just going to go talk to anybody on a microphone just because I need to get you a podcast on Tuesday. Now, I know that consistency is key, but I am hoping that you will be patient with me. I don't plan to make you wait as long as my YouTube audience had to wait. I had 5 episodes of videos ready to go also for that time that I was going to be on that trip. But similar to how I couldn't record my own intros, it didn't feel appropriate for me to post these videos of me being happy and talking about things in my office, even though they were recorded at a simpler time while I was going through this. And I certainly just couldn't imagine even editing my own content, which some of it still needed to be. So my YouTube channel actually had to wait a month to hear from me. I simply need your patience for a couple of weeks. I do not want to wait until the beginning of the new year, because I think we have some important things to talk about when it comes to setting goals for your new year. And because I'm kind of a perfectionist, if you haven't gotten that from me, you got to do that before the new year so that you can start during the new year. So I definitely want to get back on here and have a good conversation with you, and hopefully with others, before the start of the new year. But I need to go and sit down with the right people to spend time with, and you need to make that decision extremely carefully. And I'm not just going to go, like I said, get anybody. So I have to go get the people I had next lined up, which means I got to get on a plane again, maybe have a couple people here locally, and of course BFF chats. Just so you know, that conversation I had with Sarah, it was so true to who we are. Maybe we should have a little bit less wine last time. Not going to lie. I had to cut that one down a little bit. But we really do have such meaningful conversations. And that's one of the things I am most grateful for in my life. I never had a lot of friendships growing up that were deep. I had a lot of surface level, a lot of acquaintances. I was trying to get out of high school so fast. I really didn't keep anybody around. Although I did see some beautiful high school friends at the funeral, which I appreciate them so much for that because, it meant something to us. But it wasn't those friendships that it's like we're going to talk forever for the rest of our lives. And you know what? A lot of those relationships fall off anyway. So I'm not saying that everyone has that but me. I know that this happens to everybody. But what I feel very grateful for is my friendship with Sarah and that we can talk about things that go beyond people and events and actually mean something in who we are as we shape our lives. So being able to record conversations like that with you and share them with you, I want to do that more often. So of course, she's a lovely local chat that I can always have. And so we'll probably have her back on episode 10. And, let's be real. If I'm sitting down with my best friend on episode 10, it's probably going to be hard to avoid talking about what's happened to me. So maybe that will come up. Maybe not. I really love that it's not super planned when I get to sit down with her. But of course, outside of that, the other conversations I want to have with you listening in are with people who have absolutely crushed it in their life in some capacity. It doesn't mean that they have to be famous. It doesn't mean that they have to be the executive at their organization. Maybe they just did one thing really, really well. And I want to dig into that for you. And that's the purpose of this show. So thank you for being patient with me. I request that you please follow on Instagram and on Twitter because I'm going to be, since I'm back on, that's going to be a lot more reliable of a space to hear from me. So you will know when the next one comes up. I don't want to make any promises right now. My only promise is going to be that it will be before the new year. It might be the day before the new year, or actually, oh gosh, these holidays, they land on the worst days. It's probably going to be in a couple weeks because, Christmas and New Year's Day are those Tuesdays. So we'll see how it goes. But I definitely want to get you something where you feel like you can start to plan your new year accordingly and efficiently and motivationally. And it might be another solo episode. I'm not going to lie. This solo episode, like I said, totally unplanned. Not something I really wanted to do on this show very often. I want to have you hear from other people because you can hear from me on YouTube whenever you want. That being said, I do think these long form solo episodes could be good. I'd love your feedback about that. Leave comments on Instagram, leave comments on Twitter. I'll be checking. But back to that, follow those social networks so that you know when the next episode is going to come back. I want to make sure that we do it right here. I don't just want to pop some random podcast up next Tuesday just because it's the deadline. My intention was to be further ahead of schedule than this for you, but I also didn't anticipate such a life-shattering event. So that is that sort of housekeeping, and I appreciate you listening to this episode, even though it kind of is just a bunch of housekeeping. One thing I wanted to do, because we're probably going to go a couple weeks without episodes, is talk about where we've been so far. Because interestingly, there have been more episodes that went out that were not hosted by me, I'm pretty sure, than there were. So really quick, if you haven't listened to all the episodes yet, there's only 7. So if you haven't listened to them all yet, this is your chance to catch up. You have a couple of weeks to catch up, and you will know my thoughts on the Leah Pipes episode, which was the first episode, the Matthew Santoro episode, because that was the second episode, and the Lauren Everett's Bostic episode, which was the third episode, because I hosted those. But I believe, November 5th is when Brittany Crystal's episode came out, and then the rest of them, and I didn't host those. So I thought I would just kind of chat about them for a second because you never really got my take on the conversations in the recaps or anything like that. But I just want to quickly mention, and I kind of already talked to you about BFF chat. So let's just talk about the interviews. Brittany Crystal, she brought the fire. It was really great to be able to sit down with her and talk about something super practical. We did get to hear about her background and what it was like for her to work with Gary Vaynerchuk, which was just a really cool thing. But also that she's just now kind of starting her venture. She's only been in this about a year. To be able to hear what's been going on in her head as a new business owner, if you are someone who thinks about starting a side hustle or if you think about starting a business, I thought that was really interesting. And also, man, LinkedIn, such missed opportunities are happening in that space, especially for me. I spend a lot of my time in all the pretty places, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and not enough time on LinkedIn where there's some really meaningful connections happening. So everyone from the people who are working within a company and maybe own it or thinking about starting a company, but even if you're someone who isn't one of those things, your aspiration is to be an intrapreneur, somebody who proceeds with their life and their career as if they're an owner in the company because they care so much about what they do. That's awesome too. You might be able to find that next amazing, great, awesome, perfect opportunity for you on LinkedIn if you're making the right connections. And I do think that the cool thing about that space is that people are so unafraid to talk about what their career goals are there. And you can really meet the right people when you open up and do that. So definitely tune into Brittany's episode if you want to hear more about that, and certainly check out her stuff if you want to dig into the weeds of how to do it right. She clearly has a lot of resources there. Episode 6, we're skipping BFF chat because I already kind of talked about that. Episode 6 was with Nick Symmonds, and he is a 2-time Olympian who I was fortunate enough to run into in town because my dear friend Lewis Howes was hosting an event. It was so great to be able to chat with him because I find it so fascinating how somebody becomes an Olympian. I don't know about you. If you ever sit down and watch the Olympics and go, how do these people get here? Like, it's an incredible amount of not just willpower and just routine and just crushing what you do and losing a lot in order to be able to get there. But also just so interesting just to hear from an exercise perspective if maybe you are not fitness friendly, and just hearing what it's like to be in the mindset of someone who's just made it a natural part of their life. And I think that's the big message here overall, is that if someone has become a success in some way, it's because they prioritized this thing in their life so much so that it's natural to them. It's hard work. Everything we do is still going to be very hard work, but it's still natural to them. So I thought that that was a great episode. And also, the fact that he's a newer entrepreneur launching a product, a caffeinated product, which I love, Run Gum, which is now in Target and all this stuff. Very cool and inspirational to hear. So listen to Nick Symmonds' episode. That was a great one. And the last one we heard was Christy Lingo, my dear friend Lingo, professional organizer, mom, and overall fabulous human. Full disclosure, she was a client of mine in the last year. And so I just thought when I launched Detail Therapy, she was a perfect fit to bring on, because one of my biggest triumphs with what I do is having a community of people who may also be a mother. And that is not something I have experience in. And my audience likes to let me know that. And that's okay. But I like to bring people on who can speak to that, because I do believe that the tips and advice that I give in regards to time management still work in parenthood. However, I can't present all areas of that argument. And so I think it's really important to hear from people who have really tried and have gone through those bumps and, hey, I woke up early, but so did my kid, and I didn't actually get any extra time. And how do you combat that? Being able to hear from people who have gone through that when I haven't, I think is really valuable and important. Not to mention the fact that Lingo is a bomb organizer. I mean, she knows how to get you organized. And that was something I wanted everybody to hear, because I believe that, I think we talked about, what was the quote that I shared? I hear it from Gretchen Rubin very often, but I don't know if she got it from somewhere else. But outer order is inner calm. I believe that. I am innerly calm when my desk is clean, and when there is not a mess in the sink, and when my bed is made, and when I can see what I have to wear that day and not have to sort through a lot of clothes that I don't love. And that has been super important to me, and something I've discovered about myself over the years. That's something I probably knew about myself very early on. But it's still amazing when you see how it works for you. So listening to an organizer and understanding how that connects the dots between your mindset and your productivity and your time management and all the junk that's around you or not around you, I think is super important. So that's why I think you should check out Lingo's episode. So we have 7 really awesome less than or a little bit more than an hour chats for you to tune into. If you've missed any of them, I do recommend you check them out. I'll be continuing to remind you about them on social as well at Details Podcast and detailspodcast.com for all the information that you want to know about this show. I will also still be uploading on YouTube somewhat regularly throughout the month of December. I'm trying to kind of figure out what that flow looks like right now. But if you miss me for some reason in the next couple of weeks, you can probably find some content there. And I promise I guess I can't make that promise. But for the most part, I'd like to promise that there won't be so many more weepy videos. The last video is pretty intense, not going to lie. But I'm really trying to find my new normal in moving on. And every day is not better, but every day is different. And I am grateful that every day is different because that's what makes me believe what everybody tells you in this situation. And that is that time will heal. So as much as that phrase freaks me out right now and I don't necessarily believe it, I do feel different every day. And I know that that is making me more powerful and me more motivated to make my brother very proud and continue to do what I love. To all of you who are reviewing the show, tweeting me, sending me cards in the mail, sending me DMs, all those lovely things that tell me that what I'm doing is great and that you feel for me and that you appreciate me and that you wish me all the time I need. I can't thank you enough for that. I know there's many of you listening who have done that. And if you're just getting the memo today, please don't freak out. It's okay. A lot of people are just finding out. I just really fell off the radar in November. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I know that it is not what I promised you for this show, but I know that you and I have a very special relationship because you let me talk to you every week in your earbuds. And so I just wanted to keep you updated on everything. Humongous shout out to a couple of people. My husband mainly. He has helped me hold it together this last month. And not completely lose my mind. So thank you. I love you, Vincenzo. Thank you again to Meg Kearns for stepping in and hosting the show for me. For future reference, I am going to keep this in mind because it was lovely having somebody else for you all to hear from in an episode. And I just thought it was great to hear her take on everything. And Andrew Lewin, thank you so much. Andrew is the producer, editor of this show. And without him, this would not have rolled out as easily over the last few weeks because, you need somebody on the tech side. And so I'm just so appreciative of the team. They've all been waiting for me on Monday afternoons to confirm audio to go out and all these kinds of things. And just, I really appreciate everyone's patience with me, especially this audience. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Remember to subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life that you want. Cheers.